He and Angie just married less than 3 months ago.
The father of the suspect made the initial call to dispatch. It's a gruesome scene at best.
Welcome back, and thanks for being here. Now, usually when you hear a true crime case about domestic violence, it involves the victim being stabbed or beaten in a fit of passion. But today's case will make you wonder what possibly could have been going through the killer's mind, because ending his wife's life was not the end of his brutal and horrific acts. Anggy Diaz was born on October 23, 2001, in Nicaragua, to her mother, Daniela Diaz. Angie was said to be fun, bright, optimistic, and she had a great sense of humor. Many people in Angie's life described her as having an amazing smile and the ability to change anyone's bad mood. She was also the eldest of 4 siblings, and described as a hardworking young woman with a big heart who juggled 2 jobs just to support her family. When Angie was little, her mother had to flee from Nicaragua due to a violent relationship that she'd been in, and she left Angie in her aunt's care. However, she would end up later returning. Then, in 2019, Angie moved from Nicaragua to Texas. She was studying to be an accountant in her home country, but she decided to go to America so that she could support her mother, who was undergoing cancer treatments at the time. Shortly after she'd arrived in the United States, Angie started working at a local meat market called Chepe's Meat Market, and she would end up working there for more than 3 years. In 2022, she also became a fitness coach, something that she had worked hard to achieve and was incredibly proud of. While she was working at her job as a fitness coach, in early 2022, 20-year-old Angie would meet a man who was 1 year older than her, named Jared Dicus. The pair would start dating shortly thereafter, and after only dating for a few months, they would get married in a private ceremony at their local courthouse in October of 2022. Following their wedding, Angie and Jared began living together at a cabin that was tucked behind Jared's parents' house. It was located on Oak Hill Boulevard in Magnolia, which is roughly 60 miles northwest of downtown Houston. From an outsider's perspective, they seemed to be a happy couple, as that's how they had portrayed it on social media. But behind the scenes, their relationship was actually filled with turmoil and violence. In fact, authorities had actually responded to the home where Angie and Jared lived on more than one occasion. This was following reports of domestic violence. Shortly after getting married, Angie confided in a good friend, telling her that she wanted to have children soon with Jared. However, this friend was already leery of Angie and Jared's relationship since things had moved so fast, and she told Angie to take her time and to get to know Jared better first. Apparently, Angie would also later tell this friend that her husband Jared was a very jealous person, and this friend began to notice that Angie was no longer as happy as she once was after she married Jared. Another thing that Angie's friends did not like about Jared was how he had acted a number of times when they had gotten together. Apparently, he had gotten upset with Angie during a few social gatherings and stormed off on her, not returning. Her boss, Veronica Jimenez, also noticed that Angie had been showing up to work a lot lately, tired. Though she wasn't sure if it was the job making her so tired or if it was her relationship. However, this began only a few months after Angie and Jared had started dating, so it was likely the relationship causing this. Shortly after their relationship had begun, Jared put up a post on his social media account that showed just how controlling he could be. He had posted a video of Angie with the words, "She is mine," above it, which not only looks like controlling behavior, but was also very odd because nobody was questioning it. And just a month after the pair got married in November of 2022, Jared was arrested for driving under the influence. And when he was brought down to the station to be held, Jared started threatening a cop and other staff members. He actually had to be forced into a restraint chair during this incident after he had started punching windows. So Jared's temper was quickly emerging, and it wouldn't be long before Jared's parents were making a call to 911. On January 11, 2023, Jared's mother and father called emergency services at 4:35 p.m., and they told dispatch that Angie was dead inside the home that she shared with their son. When officers arrived at the home that Angie and Jared shared, they were met with an extremely gruesome scene. The residence was completely covered in blood on the floors, walls, and furniture. Then, police found Angie's lifeless body lying near their bed, surrounded by a pool of blood. And her head had been severed from the rest of her body. Police would find it inside the shower. Now, detectives would determine that Angie had actually been dead since around 11 p.m. the night prior. So her body had been lying there for close to 18 hours before Jared's parents had found her. Now, Jared had actually been home when police arrived on the scene, and he, along with his other family members, his mother, father, and brother, were brought down to the police station for questioning. This is where Jared would end up confessing to murdering his wife of only 3 months in a moment of rage. After his confession, the rest of Jared's family was allowed to leave, and he was placed under arrest for Angie's murder. Then he was held on a measly $500,000 bond for cutting someone's head off. This was later raised to $1 million. Jared was also actually out on bond from his DUI incident when he murdered Angie. While being interviewed, Jared's parents had told police that earlier that day, their son had come inside their home, and he had made some type of statement that concerned them for one reason or another. They just felt like something was not right. So his parents decided to go check the cabin where he lived with Angie to make sure that everything was okay. But it was clearly very far from okay, as that's when they found Angie's body. Investigators had also found a kitchen knife at the scene of the murder. They believed that Jared had used this knife to partially dismember his wife's body. With a kitchen knife, that would have taken quite some time. So once Jared started cutting his wife's head off, he would have had to be completely committed. Sick. Detectives also found some startling video footage that was taken from a surveillance camera at the convenience store where Angie actually worked. In the footage, you can see Jared's car pulling into the parking lot of Chepe's Market. This was at 11:40 a.m., and after parking, a very calm-looking Jared got out of his car and walked into the store. He had then strolled over to the store's cooler, grabbed a beer, and as he walked by the store's front counter and out the front door, he chugged it. He was then seen taking another large sip of beer once he got out to the parking lot. And all of this had taken place very shortly after he had killed his wife. Following Angie's murder, Waller County Judge Tri Duhan, who had wed Angie and Jared, took down the photo of their marriage and made this public statement on Facebook. I'm sure many of you have heard about an occurrence yesterday in the Oak Hollow area of Waller County, where a young man was arrested and charged with his wife's murder. This involved a young couple that I married in October of 2022. During my short time with them, they were a very nice young couple. As with many of you, I'm greatly saddened and shocked by the news of this tragic event, and my prayers are with all of their families. Out of respect for the families, I have taken down my photo with the couple and the post announcing their marriage, primarily due to the insensitive nature of some comments that were being made on the post. This matter will now go through our court system, and I am confident that the Waller County Sheriff's Office and the Waller County District Attorney's Office will see to it that justice is served. Just weeks prior to her death, Angie had made a post on her Instagram in which she showed a picture of her and Jared looking joyful on Christmas, and she wished everyone a happy and Merry Christmas. In the comments, Jared had responded, "Merry Christmas to my beautiful wife." He had then gone on to call Angie his trophy, again being controlling and possessive of her. Since Angie's murder, a few people have come out and said that they could never have seen Jared doing this because he always protected the people that he loved. Yeah, sure, with his family maybe, but when it comes to an intimate relationship, things can be completely different. There is also some speculation from people who know Jared as to whether he was taking drugs when he murdered Angie. So on July 31st, 2024, Jared Dicus ended up taking a plea deal in which he pled guilty to the murder of his wife, Anggy Diaz, in exchange for 40 years in prison. Due to the terms of his plea agreement, Jared waived his right to appeal the verdict, the sentence, and any potential defense to prosecution, including attempting to use an insanity defense at a later time. Angie's family had also agreed to the terms of this plea deal prior to it being offered. So Jared will actually be eligible for parole in 2043, but he's only 23 now, so if he does make parole then, he'll be 42 years old, which is plenty of time to hurt more women and kill again. This does not seem like a fair sentence for someone that killed their wife and severed her head from her body. A candlelight vigil was held for Angie on Saturday, January 14th, 2023, to remember and honor her life. In between their grief and pain, her family expressed their gratitude for the community's support and outpouring of love. A GoFundMe page was also set up to raise money for Angie's burial and other services. Her memorial service would end up being held at Magnolia's First Baptist Church on January 22nd, 2023. Family, friends, and the community gathered to honor Anggy Diaz's life with music, prayer, and a few words from close family. Her family said they remember her as a young woman full of hope, whose life was cut short. One of Angie's aunts shared a few words and said her niece was an angel sent by God who touched everyone she met with her contagious joy and smile. She said everyone who met her will forever hold a piece of her in them. And even though Angie's death was tragic, her family says they have no room for any hate in their hearts. Angie was also fondly remembered by her friends and co-workers for her exuberant spirit. Her employer, Veronica Jimenez, said that Angie was a very bright girl, full of energy, never negative. Customers who frequented the store where Angie worked were also equally saddened by her death. That's how much she was loved. And on January 24th, Angie's remains were sent back to Nicaragua, where the rest of her family will say their final goodbyes and lay her to rest. This is another case where two people rushed into a marriage before they really got to know each other as people first. And it ended horribly. I'm guessing that Angie was likely blindsided by Jared's anger following their wedding. Otherwise, why would she have gone through with it, especially so soon after meeting him? Though I'm sure he was using manipulation tactics like love bombing her. And I hope the parole board is smarter than to let Jared out anytime sooner than 40 years, because honestly, he deserves even more than that. If you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least twice every week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Also, if you haven't yet, go check out my new channel, Wicked Ways. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.